Welcome to a new type of video I'm going to try out where I just yap about a video game I've been playing this week, with the first one being Pragmata. I know that this game came out a couple months ago, but with the insane amount of games coming out recently, I'm just getting into this game. I just want to say I don't really have a script or anything. These are just some of my thoughts I have after beating the game just yesterday, so I'm going to try to keep it formatted, but it might just go all over the place. But anyways, let's just get started. Quick disclaimer, the footage I'm going to show is from the third act of the game, so like the final 3 hours, and I'm going to go into spoilers and talk about the entirety of the game. So if you haven't played it at all, I really recommend not watching this and going to play the game yourself and then coming back. First off, I just want to say that I have had my eye on this game ever since the very first trailer all those years ago during one of the PS5 reveal showcases. So I've been interested ever since then, and I've kept up with every update and delay this game had. So I was pretty excited to finally play this game after so long. And I can confidently say that I was very satisfied with the overall experience. I think the first thing I want to get into is the hacking, because this is like the new unique gameplay thing that has captured everyone's attention. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to like this. I thought it might be somewhat tedious to do and overwhelming when there's a lot of bots attacking you at the same time. But I ended up enjoying this part of the game a lot more than I thought I would. Even when I gained the ability to auto hack, I would manually hack the bots because it was just that enjoyable. There's something about it when it raises your heartbeat because you have to do it fairly quickly before anything attacks you. It just gets the blood pumping, and it's not that difficult to understand once you get past the halfway point. Hacking just becomes second nature. I think it's also really cool to be used in different boss fights because it kind of serves as a QTE, but instead of just pressing one button and your character doing some crazy animation taking down a boss fight, you have to think about what you're going to do and path your way in order to hack the enemy. There's also a lot of depth in the hacking system. It's not just the same get to point A to point B the whole game. It can be if you want it to be, but there's different modifiers like adding these things called nodes, which are blocks you put inside the hacking map that if you pass through, it will have a different effect on the enemy. One of my favorite ones to use is the confuse node, as this makes the bot attack other enemies, and it can be really useful when you do it on one of the more powerful enemies. And there's just so much customization you can do here to make your hacking fit into the way you want to play. You either want to prioritize more damage or prioritize the heat buildup so they can get staggered. It was just so much fun to experiment with different types of builds. It's not just the hacking that was enjoyable, but also just the regular gunplay, because of the variety of weapons this game has to offer. There's tons of weapons you can find throughout the game that all feel distinct to one another and have their pros and cons, and this just added another layer of customization to the way you want to play. I had my favorites by the end of the game, but I had my fun picking up each new gun and finding ways to make each of them viable, and combining the uses of different guns in order to output the most amount of damage. This game is just so good at keeping you on your toes. Nowadays, I feel like most games, you don't really have to think about your next move or put that much thought into the combat, and in Pragmata, you could just do super simple hacking and shoot with your regular gun and get by pretty easily. But you benefit greatly if you think on how to use your guns and hacking effectively. The game is just constantly giving you upgrades and new abilities at your disposal, which you may think can be overwhelming, but it's done at such a good pace that it just feels like it's adding more power to your arsenal rather than complicating it. I also have to mention that this game has a really good difficulty level. What I mean by that is it's difficult enough for me to really get into the systems and having to try pretty hard to beat all these encounters, but not too hard where it just frustrates me and overwhelms me and I have to take a break from the game. Like the boss fights, which side tangent, I really like the bosses in this game. They feel really creative and grand compared to the regular enemies, and I wish there was more boss fights because they were super enjoyable to fight. There's only like 4 of them. I wish there was more, but each of them was high quality. There's also a lot of smaller things in this game that I really enjoy, like the small dialogue interactions with Hugh and Diana, and small gameplay elements like when you upgrade your suit and add mods to Hugh or give Diana more hacking options. There's cutscenes that play out that show how Hugh is learning this thing and how Diana is learning the new ability. It's a super small little thing, but it just adds to the immersion, and I really appreciated they added this because they didn't need to. The shelter is where you can find a lot of these smaller details. The shelter is basically the home base where you can come back to a lot of the times and regroup and heal and upgrade all your stuff. But you can also interact with Diana and give her gifts, and you can see her play with her gifts and just run around. It's such a small, sometimes unnoticeable thing, but it really adds up, especially by the end of the story. So let's talk about the story. And starting off with the two main characters, Diana and Hugh. This duo is just great. Their small interactions throughout the game really make you feel for them, and you can see their bond growing over time. In the beginning of the video, I said that over time, the hacking feels like second nature. It's almost like the bond these two characters share. At first, it feels super sudden and weird to have someone else there, but by the halfway point, it's like muscle memory. The hacking and the shooting go hand in hand together, just like Hugh and Diana's bond gets stronger. I also really like how there's small cutscenes that play in certain parts of the game, where you get to know more details about each other, and you are learning these new things about Hugh at the same time Diana is. Diana is definitely the MVP between the two. She is just so likable. Everything she says just made me smile. It's super easy to care about her the same way Hugh cares about her. I've seen a lot of comparisons about Joel and Ellie being the same as Hugh and Diana. They're two completely different things. Their relationship is a lot more different than what Joel and Ellie's was. Hugh and Diana is much more playful and wholesome and heartwarming. They're just two different things, even though they may seem a little similar. Now, I'm not gonna lie, in terms of the actual overarching narrative, I was not that interested in the first half. Edith as the main antagonist was just kind of boring. I get that there was this mystery of how and why did this AI become bad and what's its motive, but I don't know. It didn't really click with me and was kind of not interested in finding out why, but Diana and Hugh's relationship definitely pushed me towards the second half of this game, where I think this is where the story really takes off. When you found out about 8 being the one who's doing all this and the reasoning behind why she's doing all this, it really got me invested. I was on board, but this did happen towards the end, but the third act was really well done and did make me feel something, but most of it had to do with how much I cared about Diana and Hugh, so it wouldn't have hit as hard if it wasn't for their small interactions and seeing their bond grow over time. And of course, there's the end. I was actually pretty shocked by it. I was not expecting that outcome. I did a really good job not spoiling myself at all, so I had no idea what was going on. I thought Diana was going to be the one to not make it to Earth, or they both were just gonna stay there and die. But I was wrong. Diana was the only one to make it on Earth. I was pretty sad, yes. I wanted both of them to go, but I think it was a good ending that made me feel something and made me evoke a certain emotion. I think if a game's story made me feel any type of emotion, it did a pretty good job at having a compelling story. I have a lot of questions that could be maybe told in a possible sequel, since this game sold incredibly well. Like, what's Diana gonna do now on Earth? Like, what's going to happen with her? And will Hugh manage to survive? Because in the secret ending, we did see that talk to someone saying you're traveling alone or something like that. So there is a possibility he survives, but will he ever be able to come back to Earth? But that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Pragmata. It was a very fun, enjoyable game that I'm glad is getting the success it deserves. There needs to be more new original ideas from big studios, so I'm glad it's paying off for Capcom, and I hope this will inspire new developers to make something new and creative. That was it for my yapping session. That's all I had to say, so thanks for watching until the end.